these are the destinations that we have identified. If it's in black, it means that they are currently being utilized on signs now. If they're blue, that means that they're new destinations. And then the orange represents ones that would just appear on pedestrian signs. We also looked at various studies of how we would name things. Strata Center is a good one. The official name is Strata Center for the Performing Arts. So we looked at, what that would look like on a sign where we would be having Museum of Art and the Children's Museum and the Poe Garage on it, versus this version that is shorter. So we did a bunch of studies for several destinations to get to what we ultimately are recommending. These are the 8 CRA districts of downtown. These are the 4 that are participating in this, and you guys are shown in green. And then these are the sub-districts that are part of downtown, which are essentially make up the Tampa Downtown Partnership's Special Services District. The destinations that fall within downtown, the primary destinations. We looked at the circulation. So the key entry corridors in the downtown, the orange ones are the primary and the yellow ones are the secondary. And then we looked at the circulation corridors within downtown. And there are a few one-way streets that we have to deal with. And then we developed a vehicular navigation strategy. So what's shown in green, I'll just zoom in real quick. So big circles represent primary decision points, and smaller circles are secondary decision points. And then we came up with just some conceptual messaging for key locations. And again, we had some options that we discussed with the committee to get to this version that we're recommending. We also looked then at the pedestrian pathways from the garages, and for each of the 5 main public city-owned public parking garages, we developed messaging for all the entry points, or exiting points, I should say, from the garage. Oops. We also looked at the Riverwalk signage, as well as micro mobility hubs and paths. We worked with the mobility department and the Tampa Downtown Partnership to develop some hubs for micro mobility, because it's impossible to direct to every single one, and they shift. So these are ones, the ones identified here are ones that they deem as being more permanent. And then we also did an inventory of existing signs, the vehicular and pedestrian signs, the blue and green signs, as well as the Riverwalk signs. Concept design. So this phase, so I will say that we were, as we were working on this project, probably in the programming phase, we started a separate project with the Tampa Downtown Partnership to develop district or brand identities for each of the neighborhoods that make up their special services district. Water Street Tampa has their own brand identities, so we developed the brand identities for the other 6. So when we started concept design, we had already had our stakeholder meetings with each of those 6 groups. And so we already had some ideas about the direction that, we knew that we wanted to have a different color for each district and a different icon or pattern for each district. So as we heard people's great ideas during these stakeholder meetings, we started to have an idea about what would be best to represent that neighborhood. So the concepts that we show will incorporate some of those initial ideas, but we hadn't developed the brand identities yet. That project is complete now. We have developed the brand identities, and the partnership will be having meetings with each of the CACs to unveil them. So you won't see yours today. All right, the first, so these, we came up with probably 5 or 6 different concepts, and then we had some revisions that we came up with and some melding of ideas, and then it narrowed down to 3 concepts. This first concept is more traditional or historic in nature. It has what is in dark blue, and this is going to be the same for each of the concepts. What is in dark blue would be utilized throughout all the districts or neighborhoods. What you're seeing in yellow would be change colors based on the district that you're in. And so this yellow color represents the River Arts District. On the backs of the sign at the top, we've developed a geometric pattern with a T for Tampa. So, we want to have kind of 3 distinct concepts that are shown and for people to comment on. So,
John,
yes.
if you want to keep going, but I thought you said if we had questions, just feel free to ask them.
Yeah, that's fine.
But just what popped out of my head, why yellow for River Arts? Did you guys put thought to the color for the district, or is it just kind of how it came out?
We did put thought to the color for each of the districts.
I'll let you get there if it's in the presentation, but it just popped in my head.
The yellow, I think, is the only one you'll see. I will tell you that your district is a kind of a lavender color, lavender to purple. Well, that's actually has been set in stone. Unfortunately, the colors had to work with the Tampa Downtown Partnerships colors. And some of the colors were yeah, I'll just say that there's a palette of colors that's been established and they're already implementing it. It was important to us working on both projects and being aware of both projects that we wanted them. We didn't want a brand identity for a neighborhood to be utilized by the partnership, and then something completely different show up on the wayfinding sign. So we knew that the two needed to work hand in hand. So what you're seeing here is and this again will be the same on each of the concepts. So there's an identity sign for the district. This is a vehicular directional sign. This sign would be more for bike path. And then one of our analysis recommendations is that the current pedestrian directional signs are on pole mounted and up in the air, and they're too high and the type is too small. So our recommendation is something that's more like a monolith that is closer to the ground, and it's more pedestrian friendly. This also will probably allow us to utilize the existing footers of the pedestrian signs. All right, concept 2. So this one takes inspiration from the electronic signs that have been popping up, the directory signs. They're called CAC signs. That's the manufacturer. And so there's probably 30 to 40 of those that are throughout downtown Tampa. Right now they are they're very foreign compared to the wayfinding system that's out there. So this concept intentionally is inspired by the CAC signs and trying to make them feel more integrated with the rest of the program. And so this is utilizing black as the main color, and then again the coloration changes per district. In this concept, we have the icon that's been developed for the district would then be utilized as a pattern on the signs. So it would be utilized on the back side of the signs. It could be, where it's not interfering with information, it could be on the front, like on the district identity sign, as well as, maybe at the bottom of the pedestrian directional sign.
Question. What's the icon for Central part.
Well, again, that's going to be shown to you. I will say that, so again, these concepts were developed before we actually developed the brand identities. We did show Central Park, and we used musical notes because there are musical notes that are utilized throughout the neighborhood already.
Okay.
All right, and then concept 3, which has it's more curvilinear, which is kind of breezy, inspired by the river walk or the river, and the breezes off of the river. This one's also is Tampa proud and has Tampa bold on all of the signs, but also done in a more tone way, so that the district identification is still critical or a key component of the sign. And this incorporates the patterning as well. And I think, yeah. So those are the 3 concepts, and then a couple more pages, and then we can talk about the concepts. So as I referenced earlier, part of what our scope was to get some ballpark pricing from a qualified fabricator, which we did. We did it based on kind of these are not designs. These are, this is representing a type of sign. So, the downtown trailblazer sign is a pole mounted sign, approximately this size. So based on that ballpark pricing, then we put together a list of sign types and quantities that we're showing on the map, and it came up with a budget number. And the next steps, you're the 4th of the 4 CACs that we're presenting to. We do present to the City Council CRA board February 8th. And we are, Courtney and her team is working on extending the scope of work to complete the project for design development, bid documents, bidding, and documentation. And then they're also looking at adding additional CRAs to the wayfinding study. So you want me to go back to the concepts, or do you have any questions about what I've quickly gone through? Yes.
Hey,
Show my
John,
face now.
this is Danielle here.
Hi, Danielle.
Hello. Sorry I couldn't be there in person, but I am carless right now. Wanted to ask about the second concept because you have mentioned Ike signs, and I know that the City of Tampa Mobility Department has been very keen about implementing smart city initiatives, and I feel that even if you had use this concept as to reuse some of the existing infrastructure, I think that if there's an opportunity to integrate smart signs, obviously, you see those touchpads and you see some of the variable message signs or VMS. I think that it would go a long way because, hard infrastructure signs are great, but I also think that they're quite dated, especially since we have so many events in downtown Tampa. We could really benefit from VMS. So I guess the question back to you is there a potential if we were to select concept 2, that some of these signs would be VMS and could be differentiate messages for event traffic and to circulate downtown traffic better in those times?
So great question. We have had several meetings with the mobility department, and we are aware of the dynamic signage that they're looking at implementing. It's another reason why the integration of the parking component into this program is really critical. So what we have discussed with them is that there would be some signs, and it doesn't matter which concept, any concept could do this. On some key signs, we could integrate dynamic technology. What we talked about was not listing the events, but saying, for instance, Poe Garage full or Poe Garage open. Whereas when you get to the Poe Garage, it would say how many spaces are available. When you're driving, You don't need to know, you just need to know if there's parking or not. And so that's the extent of what we talked about, but it doesn't mean that we couldn't delve deeper into that and listing more than just parking. The dynamic signs are a lot more expensive. So, you know, we would want to be cognizant of where and strategic in where we place them. The pier project that we worked on, St. Pete Pier, we do have dynamic signs for the parking identities there as well. It says full and closed, or full and open, sorry.
I was wondering how this works when you were talking about and had the circles on the screen where you go from the city to the various places and then you get to the parking, and at the parking you find out the destination. When you said that, it made me think that I had to find a parking garage before I found where I'm going. How does that work? Because if GPS is sending me to 4 streets over, and then the parking is somewhere over here, I mean, how does this all come together, and what does it look like?
Well, it wouldn't, some destinations are kind of off on their own, so we would be directing definitely the destinations. We would be directing to key destinations, you know, let's say the Tampa Museum of Art, for instance. We wouldn't just be directing to the Poe Garage. We would be directing to, and I do show that example in this package, we would be directing to the Poe Garage, and on that sign, it would also include the Tampa Museum of Art, the Glazer Children's Museum, and there might be, we can list up to 4 destinations. There might be a 4th destination. So some of the key destinations would also be included, but the Poe Garage, by directing to the Poe Garage, in our strategy at the Poe Garage, the identification sign would include a list of the destinations you can access from that garage. Now, if somebody's following their GPS, they're probably just going to follow GPS and not follow the wayfinding signs. And, you know, they may be looking for parking nearby as they get close to the destination. You know, people have different ways of navigating a city. One of the important components of the wayfinding system, and we talked about this in the full analysis program, one of the assets or one of the components of or benefits of a wayfinding program is that it markets the assets of the city's downtown destinations. And so you may not be aware that there's a firefighters museum in Tampa, but if you're driving by or you're walking and you see it listed on a sign, that's awareness. It's promotion for the destination. So they work in different multiple ways.
So if I understand you correctly, the sign that leads you to the Poe Garage will also list the places that are nearby on the sign, and also when you're at the garage, it'll list what's nearby.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll just show you an example. Like here, so somebody, you know, this is part of what we did. So if somebody's coming down Kennedy, you know, we direct to the right, we just say public parking because they can access both the Twigs Garage and the Poe Garage. So here we're just being general. And then we say County Court, and straight ahead is University of Tampa and the HV Plant Museum. Then once you get up to Twigs, we direct to the right is Twigs Garage and County Court. And that's because we have room. If we didn't have room, we wouldn't necessarily list County Court, but we list it here. And then straight ahead, we say Poe Garage. There's no need to start listing the museums and Straz. Then once you get up to the decision point at Cass Street, we say to the left is Poe Garage, and we have a line, and under that it says Straz Center, Museum of Art, and Glazer Children's Museum.
Okay, thank you.
And then, yep. And then once you get to the garage, there would be an identity sign that says Poe Garage, and then it would list all of the destinations of all that you can, maybe not all, if there are a ton, but it will list the primary destinations you can access.
I was gonna ask how.
Danielle, you had a question? Or is that from before?
No, this is
Travis.
Travis. Travis is here.
Sorry, how do you guys go about updating the signs? Things change. That kind of built in with the contractors that make the signs?
I didn't quite catch all that. I think you talked about maintaining the sign.
Maintaining or updating for new places and places that have been discontinued. Like how
Right.
often are they updated?
So part of what will be developed is recommendations for maintenance, but for like the front portion. So for this sign, for instance, what's in blue needs to be a special kind of reflective 3M vinyl that the city sign shop owns the printer that is needed to print on that vinyl. And so when it comes time to update, this portion can be updated. You don't need to make a new sign, and you know this part wouldn't need to be updated. Signs that do not require the reflective vinyl, for instance, the pedestrian directionals. You know, we might fabricate this in a manner where there is a panel and the panel could be replaced. We wouldn't want this to be vinyl that's applied to metal, because people could scrape that off as they walk by. So we would want to be painted. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
And one question about the concept one. You say it's kind of like a classic design. Is this something that matches up with what's currently out there?
What do you mean, does it match up? No, this would replace what's currently out there.
Okay. So every design is going to replace everything that is out there.
Correct.
Okay,
John,
I did have another question. Can we revisit the color comment for our district? Because back when Karen came to the CAC CRA to talk about this amazing, wonderful project, and I don't know if Karen's in the room there today, but we talked about that historic green. And my mind is just kind of like wrapped around it. And then you say lavender and it's set in stone. So I want to know who I can talk to about that decision, because we had, you know, kind of made a comment a while back about that historic green. I don't know if the rest of the committee members remember that conversation.
Yes,
Yes.
Here,
we
here.
all do. Every single one of us does.
And
Yeah.
specifically teal.
Yeah. That was gonna be my next question. Who is the decision maker for that?
And why is it in stone?
And exactly.
I would direct that to Caroline
Who's Caroline?
Caroline Fraser
Kessler.
Kessler. Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's that? Who is that?
She works
The-
for Downtown Partnership, and the Downtown Partnership is funding this project. So I'll probably draft an email up and see if I can get some answers.
She's
And to
the-
not avoid any confusion, that the partnership is funding their study. The CRA is funding the study that he's presenting about right now.
Correct.
So they're
They're
two
two
companies,
different projects.
right? So the partnership funded one, we're funding the one he's presenting on right
But
now.
the partnership had the say over our signage colors, though.
We had I will say that we had stakeholder meetings with each of the districts, and that historic green did not come up in the stakeholder meeting for Central Park. And this is the first that we're
Was any
hearing
of
of it.
were any of the committee members at this stakeholder meeting? I don't ever remember hearing about that.
I don't recall.
Nor
It
do
was
I.
actually the largest attended stakeholder meeting that we had.
I'm sorry. Were any of us there? Because I don't remember hearing about that.
We don't know that. That would be a question for the came it
So
into a
was it
partnership.
stakeholder meetings for downtown or was it stakeholder meeting for multiple of who were the stakeholders?
There were various people in them. That one I think had a representative for council member. It had some people from Encore. It had business owners. It had a wide variety of people.
Who sent this invite out and when was this meeting?
It came from the partnership. And Aaron, do you remember when the meetings were? Yes. When?
Because it kind of feels like we got bulldozed
Oh
on
yeah,
this one.
yeah. They were August, I believe. August.
Well, I guess since we're one of the biggest funding organizations behind the study, I think we would be one of the biggest stakeholders. And so I'm going to divert back to the committee about the meeting and then, you know, path forward because I'm holding to that green because of historic reasons. So I don't know, you know, with the city's assistance, how we can weigh into that decision.
Yeah, you have my support.
I do.
Yeah, I think we're all on the same page with that.
Yeah, we can convey your comment to Caroline because I know that they're going to be scheduling these meetings. But middle person on this between the two projects.
Okay.
I mean, they. My
Is
understanding is that
is Courtney in the room there? I don't see her.
Yes. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
hey,
here.
Courtney.
I'm off to the side.
Maybe we can, I don't know, maybe we can reach out to Caroline and see what the coordination was. Cause again, I do miss meetings. I'm not, you know, not saying that. And I could have missed an email, but if all of our committee members are saying that we missed the primary stakeholder meeting for a study that we funded, that's an issue. So I just want to get to the bottom of it because had any one of us been at the meetings, any of the meetings, we would have mentioned the preference for that historic green because that's been kind of a big part of a lot of the conversations we've been having in terms of the historic nature of the district. And quite frankly, lavender, to me, it doesn't really, I mean, I love the music notes, don't get me wrong with the concept number 2, but that lavender color, for somebody to make a unilateral decision on that, or maybe the stakeholders voted, I'd like to see that data. And just understand why we weren't involved in the data collection.
I have a question. When you said, I know that you guys are a major stakeholder in funding for this project, the wayfinding project, but were you also for the district, the neighborhood identity project with the partnership?
No, and that's what I was trying to explain. There are two
Yeah.
separate projects.
Right. So it's our recommendation that, oh, sorry, I couldn't, what was that?
No, that's okay. We're just talking internally. My thing was when we were sitting down in July and June, this was being rolled out as, here's a unique opportunity for the individual neighborhoods to have a say in the new signage which will be coming, and that uniqueness having significance to your neighborhood. So then you can almost, I mean, you can walk down the street and see these signs by Amelie right now, or by the arena right now. The stretch of the design to the uniqueness of the neighborhood is totally lost on me from where we started from to what the concepts we look at today. They're nice signs, but it's not where we kind of were put on the back burner as far as where all this was going till today. So that's what I was saying. John, I interrupted you. Feel free to continue.
I was going to say that it's our recommendation that those brand identities and colors be integrated into the wayfinding, into this project, the wayfinding signs, so that there's not confusion, but it also can be your choice to not utilize the color that the partnership is using for their promotions, and to utilize a different color for the wayfinding signs. Not a recommendation, but there is that option. and to the
So
design.
what I'm hearing, I'm lost on this. I hear this hierarchy of authority of which we're like the child that has no say. And I don't know, I don't understand how that happened.
Are you talking about with the brand identity development?
Yeah, no one thought it necessary to include, Central Park. Took it for granted that we would just accept whatever you
I-
said.
My understanding is that the partnership did invite each CAC to the stakeholder meetings. So I didn't see the list of who they sent it to. So
Okay,
that's something you got to
so-
bring up with them.
So here's where we are. We are informing you that that communication was it was misdirected. We didn't get it. We didn't understand it, and somebody should have caught the fact that none of us were there. It's somebody's responsibility to be sure that everyone was included, and so we're informing you that we were not.
Okay. And again, that's the partnership. The city and Courtney's team had nothing to do with that. We happen
Hey,
to be the designer for both clients. So
John, historically,
we did
what
not see,
other,
pardon?
oh, in the design concept particular to the neighborhood that we represent, what other concepts were you pulling into these signs besides the color and then the musical notes? Were there any other leads that you guys were directed towards to kind of track down to pull into this?
Well, could you
I
maybe?
kind of understand his question. I think, let me just rephrase it. So the presentation that you just showed us very much feels like that was for the Downtown Partnership Project. And that project with the stakeholder involvement that you had for the downtown core, basically you're now using to piggyback off of, and the recommendation is to use some of the attributes of these concepts in our neighborhood as well. Is that correct?
Not entirely, no. We
Okay.
developed, so what you're seeing in the concepts are 4 sign types out of, what might be 20 different sign types. So part of the analysis, that in the bigger analysis that in the phase 1 that we presented to the team is that there are certain, for vehicular directional signs, there are certain rules that we have to follow that are both national and FDOT, such as type has to be a certain cap height. You can only have 4 destinations per sign. You can only have 2 lines, the maximum 2 lines per destination. There's a contrast ratio that you need to have. They dictate where the arrows are. For instance, if you're directing to the right, the arrow needs to be on the right-hand side of the sign. So there are a lot of things that there are certain colors you can't use. So there's a lot of things that we have to follow. So it's always, for all the concepts, the primary portion of the sign is the same throughout all of downtown Tampa. And that's the best way for visitors to navigate, is to not change it up as they go throughout downtown. But we wanted to have some component of the sign that changed per neighborhood. So there were some other concepts that were developed. There were probably 7 or 8.
So
Our feeling was that when you get down to the pedestrian scale, which is not regulated by FDOT, that we could have a little bit more creativity per district. So for instance, there might be some dimensional musical notes that could be incorporated.
But this presentation isn't the work product for our study, correct?
Yes, it is.
But it doesn't show Central Park at all. It shows downtown.
We're only showing one. We're just showing one example district. We're showing how districts would be identified on the sign.
But how was our district studied?
For your district, for instance, for this project, the color would change and it would say the Central Park district.
Wasn't certain.
So in this concept,
Pretty
it's the
cool.
same T pattern throughout all of the districts.
So is this the same presentation that you showed for the downtown partnership project?
No, it's not.
No.
This is for the 4 CRAs for the wayfinding study.
So you started in the downtown core and you're just showing the decision-making tree and what you went through to get out to the neighborhoods, but you're not really going into the neighborhood any further with any sort of decision-making, except in that you're branding with the color and the shapes or the feel of the sign, you know, the design of the sign itself.
No, for instance, the parking, no, we showed examples throughout all of downtown. So
Okay.
representing the CRAs, they're in Central Park, there's currently not a public parking garage. So we showed examples of 5 garages. But your destinations are included.
Courtney, do you have the scope of what the vendor was to perform for us for the effort? I just want to revisit that because I'm confused as to what we're considering here at all.
Sure. How about this? How about if we maybe try to schedule a meeting with the folks that had voted on this for the next time, just because I feel like we're kind of running in circles here, and we do have some other stuff that we need to get out on this agenda. So let's go. Is everybody okay with adding that on there?
The only thing is that John was trying to, API is trying to get kind of a sense of what your feelings are of these particular concepts.
Uh-huh.
And then, because they are presenting on February the 8th.
But
CRA.
did I misunderstand that things are set in stone? So what are we trying to discuss today?
Well, they are still taking the CAC opinions.
Okay.
So
the things aren't set in stone.
well, that I don't
What-
know.
What I was saying is that the project with the Tamadana partnership with the developing the brand identities for each of the neighborhoods, those colors and the brand identities are finalized. We are
The partnership
showing,
signs.
so the intent was to incorporate the color and patterning from that into the wayfinding signs. And again, as I said earlier, you know, it's our recommendation, but the color could be different for your district than what the partnership is using, since this is your project that you're funding.
Courtney, can you please tell me who the city project manager is on this for downtown partnership?
Well, the partnerships, it's its own entity, so there wouldn't be a city manager on the partnerships project.
So there's no sign offs on the actual signs that are going to be constructed by the city sign shop?
Well, they would have to go through, normal permitting for sign fabrication, but as far as a project manager, as a city employee, a project manager at the partnership, they're their own entity, so there would not be a city employee doing anything on behalf of the partnership.
And they would not be doing any signs as part of it. They're utilizing it for promoting events for each of the neighborhoods.
Okay, yeah. So thanks for the clarification. So
Yeah.
It'd be more for branding and marketing locations, not the actual fabrication of the material.
So I guess who authorizes the installation of the signs?
Well,
The sign is separate from the Tamadana partnership. The signs are this
yeah, so we
project
would have the
for this
physical
series.
signs. The city of Tampa would have the physical fabrication and maintenance of signs, but the partnership, it sounds like it's only doing branding and marketing material.
Correct.
When are you presenting, John?
February 8th.
February 8th, would we be able to do a virtual meeting, maybe with the partnership prior to that, where we could kind of get some of these questions answered? Because I think he's only got a limited amount of information that he can really speak on. But it sounds like there's decision makers with the partnership that made these decisions without really letting us know. And I understand they want to make the signage look cohesive, and I agree with that. But if you're already telling us that they've picked a color and then we have the option to pick another color, is that going to look off brand? Because there's going to be a lot going on.
It will look off brand. That's why we don't recommend it, but I hear your concern, and all I can say is I think we need to reach out to them and voice
Yeah,
it.
I agree.
And I would be I would be surprised and disappointed if they did not include any members of your committee in that stakeholder meeting, because that was a key thing that we mentioned to them, is that stakeholders need to be the CAC stakeholders need to be included in those meetings.
Yeah, I'll seek clarification because, yeah, I
was just gonna ask when B Parks, CRA communications, to the group. So you're saying that you never received an email from Jeff letting you guys know that there's a possible stakeholder meeting that Downtown Partnership is conducting?
I don't think.
I'm just asking because, you know, that he was the person who initiated this study with the, you know, the partnership collaboration. Do you I wasn't.
Is it possible that it happened during the transition?
No.
So this was in August, you said?
Yes, I believe so.
And I would have shot out I would have been there as a CRA communications person to represent Tampa CRA, because that's my job, and I was not there. So so I could speak for that. I was not contacted by Tampa Partnership or anything. My communication would have been through Jeff to say, this is what's happening. And I would have thought that he would have communicated with the CACs to let them know, hey, these stakeholder meetings are happening, even if we were not putting them on. And it was just Tampa Partnership doing that. Hey, attend these meetings because they are going to talk about the wayfinding. So I just wanted to put that out to see if that happened. Apparently it didn't, because everyone's just now seeing these concepts, correct? Okay.
Yeah, can you, what
I
day
will
was that,
say-
August what?
Aaron, can you check while I speak? So I will say
I'm
that
going into the,
Aaron's going to check, and then we'll let you know in a second. But since we were working on both projects, I made each team aware of meetings along the way. So when these stakeholder meetings were established, I made Jeff aware of them happening. And so, and just like, you know, when we developed signage concepts, you know, and we were working with the partnership on the brand identities, we made them aware of, you know, these are the concepts that have been developed, and here are the comments from the committee. So we tried to keep each one informed.
Was Jeff at the meetings?
So Jeff Burton's, we met, we presented the concepts in person with the committee, and Jeff Burton was there, and his last day was the next day.
I think that's what happened.
Transition.
Because I'm looking at your email, B, that says farewell, and that was on, I mean, I save all these emails. So I do, that's just for times like this, because things slip through, and it was on like August 16th. B sent us farewell, thank you to Jeff Burton. So it was probably right around then, correct?
August 9th at 12:30 in the afternoon.
Nope.
That
was the Central Park one.
No.
That was the stakeholder meeting, and then our meeting with Jeff then would have been August 15th with Jeff and other members of the committee to present concepts would have been August 15th.
That's probably where that slipped through then. That was because, like I said,
That's not even.
I have all the saved emails for years and for these meetings, and there's nothing in there from anyone.
So how should we proceed?
I'd like to have a meeting with the partnership and let them know what happened. You know what I mean? We're not happy, you know, with that.
Chisel that stone.
Okay. But in regard to John, any particular feedback, you know, outside of color, which sounds like that's kind of the rub right here with the lavender versus green. The appearance, you know, some have like the wave, I think, and, you know, a little bit of an historical look reference or so.
So John, to concept two, I hear what you're saying with regards to taking the existing digital monument signs, monoliths, I think was your word. I think it's just a little too close to home to something. It looks like an Uber concept or a Hertz. So it almost looks like a corporate logo than distinct city. And one of the things you said was something with regards to, I think you said Tampa Brave or Tampa Strong, and that some of the signs would have, go ahead.
The concept three, Tampa Proud.
Until you said that, I didn't even realize that you were dealing with Tampa on the signs. There was only concept three that makes that even a consideration.
That is only concept three.
So maybe there's room, and I get these are being stamped out in mass quantity, but maybe there's room instead of a generic Tampa saying something more to our neighborhood. That would be actually kind of cool.
Number one.
Oh.
Number one has the river arts at the very top. And it's a lot larger than concept two. Two is very small font, but concept one.
There's room for neighborhood and Tampa down here.
Right.
Maybe the pole can become part of the piece. And you can use that to either wrap it with something that's more neighborhood specific. But outside of what DOT is restricting for how they're anchored, maybe that can be used as a design opportunity to kind of capture back some of the unique neighborhoods that the communication issues might result in us having to lose.
So utilizing the backside to be more neighborhood specific,
Yeah.
more than just a pattern of musical notes.
Look at if there's, you kind of dropped out on the first half of what you said, but do you mind just repeating it?
I said the back of the signs to be more neighborhood specific, more so than incorporating the musical notes, because that is neighborhood specific.
Exactly.
If on concept three, the middle example, that to me illustrates what we're talking about, or at least River Arts District, and then the notes. That it looks like it could be red. The other ones look too small to be red.
Looks like it could be what?
I don't know that you would be able to see them and understand what you're looking at on the smaller examples, but the one that has the vertical words, River Arts District, on concept three, the middle one, third one from the right, from the left, third one from the left.
This?
The tall one.
The tall one.
Yep, this.
Of the examples, that seems to be the one that you could read.
Mhm.
Right, that's the back side of the sign. I mean, there would be identity signs for the key entry points for each district. So that's what this first sign is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then the pedestrian signs, I'll zoom in, but it's prominently featured on the side, both sides of the on the monolith signs.
Would it be okay with you if we maybe gather some more questions and things that we need answered for this and do a virtual meeting with the partnership prior to your presentation? Because I feel like we kind of got handed a lot of information and that we weren't prepared for right now. And I think that we have a lot of questions. We also have other presenters here that we need to get to. So I feel like maybe it'd be better if we did a special meeting. Are you guys all okay with that? Does anybody want to make a motion? I guess maybe we need to make a motion for that.
Yeah, and you're trying to do it before the CRA meeting,
Well,
February the 8th.
I think that would be preferred because they've put work into this and I don't want them to, I don't want this half hour that we just discussed to go for nothing.
Okay.
Do you guys agree with that, or do you guys have any insight that you think would be better? Because like I said, I want to make sure we get to Trent and those guys, but I don't know that he's going to be, I don't know that John's going to be able to answer all the questions. He's answered what he can for now, but it sounds like the partnership was the one that had really made a lot of these decisions. So I think talking with them, and again, we don't maybe have to have it be in here because we're not going to be voting on anything.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, and I'm thinking, and I'm just thinking, for sunshine and quorum requirements, maybe it's just the chair who speaks, like you and I would speak with somebody that was appointed that project.
Okay.
That way we don't have to, maybe I could gather all the questions, but otherwise I'd have to public notice it. We'd have to have.
That'll be the best way.
You're okay with that? Because I want to get all your questions in there. I want to make sure that we get all at least our point. Because like I said, I don't think that he really understood that we weren't involved and we didn't understand what was going on. So I want to make sure that we get all of that crossed off, because I know that we're just kind of, again.
And but all of this begs the question of what other decisions were made at the meeting.
100%. I agree with you 100%. Those literally the notes that I had were the questions that we're talking about right now.
Okay.
So those are things that I wanted to get answered as well. But I think that might be better just because, like I said, I do want to get to USF and Trent's presentation as well, because I know they have a lot of information. So is that okay?
Yeah, I think that you and I, if you feel like you have the essence of what the group's concerned about, and that we have a meeting with someone from the partnership that's the appropriate person that led up, I guess it's Caroline, who I don't know. But we could have that discussion.
And we can get questions, sent to Courtney that we can ask.
Yeah, if you have any follow-up questions.
Yeah.
Would that be okay with you guys?
Caroline and Rachel both. Caroline and Rachel both were working on the project. Caroline headed it up, but Rachel was involved.
Okay, I know Rachel.
Okay.
Okay.
Danielle, are you okay with that? Okay. All right. So it sounds like
Yeah, I'll
everybody's.
send my questions to Courtney and she can share with you.
Yeah, because I feel like we all have the same questions. I feel like we all feel very similar, and I feel like we all would like to get the same answers. So between now and Courtney, when do you want to have those questions in by?
Oh, gosh.
Do you want to go ahead and just send an email out in a day or so and let us know?
Yeah, I mean, just really anytime. And I mean, if I can try to get us scheduled with the partnership
February 8th, you said?
by next week's end or the following week. So if everyone could have anything to me.
Because that'll still give us the full week, or do you want to go? So that's February 8th is going to be 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, maybe you and I could target the week of the 29th to have a discussion with someone from the partnership.
Okay, so maybe
The
by
questions by
next
the
Friday.
26th,
Yeah, questions.
by the
26th
26th.
next
and
Friday.
then
So that'll give us a
By
week.
the week of the 26th.
Okay.
Any additional questions I have would be based off reviewing the scope of work. So if we can get that, great. If not, I trust you to ask the right questions.
Yeah, okay, but like I said, I definitely want you guys to put anything you have in there, just because there might be something that I didn't think of as well, but I feel like we're all on the same page. Okay, all right, excellent. Is that perfect? Okay. So John, is there anything else that you would like to go over prior to that?
Me, no.
No? Okay.
So
Well, we appreciate your presentation. Thank you so much for everything you put into that. But like I said, I think that we do have a lot of unanswered questions that we would like to get reviewed by with the partnership.
certainly. I understand.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you for your time. Have a good night.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you guys very much.
Certainly.
Thank you,
Thanks,
John
guys.
and Aaron.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're going to be moving on to 3.2 community redevelopment vision component. Trent Green, USF Associate Professor of Urban and Community Design. Angela, what's your pronounce your last name again?
Lisa Blackshear.
Blackshear. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Please.
Okay, couple of things. We probably need a little bit more time, and certainly don't want to keep everybody here longer than that's necessary.
Right.
But we did want to engage in a conversation, and it might, like I said, it might be a little bit longer than expected. We can get started, but we do have a number of questions to ask you about relative to again, looking at the future of the CRA area. One of the things that we assume Courtney had distributed the reason for the vision exercise, let's say, earlier.
Yeah, it was in the attachment. It was attached for the visioning component
Right.
sheet. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Did-
Um,
did you need me to-
So we have, give us just a second, we can pull that table over. we're gonna ask you to sort of plot along with a couple of maps and some images that we want to definitely engage you on conversation. Okay. And we probably won't get to talk about everything that we wanted to address. Some of what we prepared does overlap with this wayfinding presentation. We're not gonna address that issue because obviously that is one of these that you need to sort out. But some of these some of the images that we'll show, let's just take out that one wayfinder. Some of the images that we want to show and ask questions about have to do with other types of overground elements that deal with place branding and placemaking. Okay. It sounds like you're well down the path of dealing with weights, but we want to do some other types of elements that could be.
It's just information.
Go over, something like I said, that's already on the radar.
Okay, not seeing what, can we just look at it?
Well, this is cool for you. Now, we recognize that in the Central Park CRA, the table the other way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, thanks for organizing. I totally missed that you did that.
So for the vision component for the update, we felt it necessary to ask you about your ideas about the future of the district. What you're seeing on this map are all the existing buildings are darker, and then a lot of these proposed buildings are lighter. Okay, and what we were interested in getting your understanding about what other redevelopment opportunities there are in the district. Of course, most of Encore will be built out pretty soon, and of course, Gasworks is coming along first phase and probably the second phase closer down here. And then, but there's this area up north, right, sort of at the northern end of the district that really haven't talked about much.
Where the question mark is?
Yes, yes. Those two areas right there. And we understand that, of course, all this is private property as well, but we want to get your opinion or ideas about to.
On the, is that GTE? That's
Yes.
that under, so that's GTE. Okay, gotcha. All right, so the
Yeah.
question mark is primarily where a lot of the existing structures are that are gonna be along Nebraska, correct?
Right.
So it's gonna
this
come
area.
through Mitchell and all that, Oliver. Okay,
Right.
gotcha.
And of course, here, we know that DOT, and it's not, is it shown here, Matt? The roadway expansion.
Yeah, it's.
We're widening the, that ramp going off to the east. It's sort of dashed in red right there on that map. It also shows the proposed DOT footpath in that area as well.
Have you guys been down there and seen that recently? Or no? Okay.
That always started with like the piling down
Yep.
where the Nebraska is.
Yep.
So again, there are a lot of those smaller individual house lots in this area. And I think when the students went on the tour with you, we sort of took some pictures of this area as well. We had that.
Yes.
We have also. So again, we wanted to get your opinions about some of the conditions in that area relative to redevelopment potential. Let's say, again, right up in this triangular corner of the northern portion of the CRA itself. Okay. And
Those are right.
numbers, you probably can't read them.
18, 19.
Yeah. So those are the conditions up there. Now, there's another, relative to that, we know the housing authority owns property along here and those two houses.
The Johnson houses.
Yeah, I think, I think we heard David rather, mention that the November, CAC meeting, that they were going to preserve those.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
One of the ideas that we've been sort of tossing around is the potential for, retaining, some of the heritage of the Central Avenue district, let's say, with these types of structures and some of these other structures you sort of see in the images up here, but actually maybe consolidating them as some type of, I don't know, like a little small heritage village idea. Okay. Because they're clearly, they're right here. Maybe there's some these parcels may get developed more like what's under construction on. You can see it there, which are townhouses. Okay. So down, and we wanted to, again, we just wanted to get your ideas on these types of conditions and see, if, as we're writing up the updated document, we address again, either whether it's short-term, future, interim, or long-term. Okay, if we should address these types of issues. Okay. Then there's the remainder of Central Park Apartments. Well, the other question is there, right?
Taylor Park Apartments?
Taylor Park, I'm sorry. Exactly. We noticed of course, they sold this portion off. Okay. But we don't know if what their plans are for that. I'm not sure I
don't think anybody does.
have any plans. Okay. But more than likely, it will transition as well.
Oh, yeah.
At some point. Now, we are sort of speculating in that regard. Okay, we don't know when or how or whatever, but we just know as this area starts to redevelop, that's probably going to change as well. And same thing up here, because of the construction of DOT, and again, sort of see a lot of smaller infill starting to come into the area as well. Okay, that area is going to change. Then there's another element that we've been contemplating that could also introduce another major change in the area, which is the proposed bright line station and probably elevated gallery that's likely to come down Neutral Parkway. You're probably familiar with the Hillsborough TPO map that sort of shows that alignment that's been out now for several years. That shows that one possible alignment coming off the I-4 up here and then coming down to somewhere about right here. So we wanted to ask you about that also. And again, I know the mayor had the press conference back in December about it. There was no indication of where. Okay. But we're, as we're sort of looking at this and considering possibilities, that this is the only city-owned land in this area. It's an irregular shaped site, and portion of it goes right in front of the second phase of gas works. But she did mention that wherever it would be, the station that is, it would be close to Union Station, close to Ybor City. I guess somewhat close to the Tico Street line, which runs up Chelsea Boulevard, just there.
No, there are residential lots that are owned by the city within here too as well. Not just that little area, but there are, we have a list of the residential lots that are city owned within our boundaries as well.
Okay.
So that's a large portion for sure, that
Right.
pie shaped piece.
Right.
But there are other portions that are owned by the city.
Is that up Nebraska you're talking about?
They're all over. They're oh yeah, we had gone through, I think we had talked about a few of them. Right.
Okay. So eventually, again, we're sort of speculating, but looking off into the future, saying, okay, something's likely to happen. We don't know. Nobody actually knows when, but they will change. Okay. We wanted to ask you first if you had any Any ideas about these conditions?
I have a question.
Yes.
When you mentioned Heritage Village, you know, that caught my attention.
Mhm.
What's your vision about that? Where, and how would that work?
Well, in order to preserve, again, because these structures, many of them are historic in nature, but they're for the most part small wood frame structures that you can move.
So where
Okay.
would you move them to?
Of course, it would require sort of an assemblage of a lot of these lots, but you could up in here, you could start to sort of fill this, these areas in with, with some of these structures. And now turn that up and make that into a place where locals, tourists, everybody would actually, could actually come and really begin to understand the legacy and the heritage of the Central Avenue district. Okay, as opposed to seeing, well, there's a little, a little bit here, a little bit there, in a more fragmented manner, let's say. What we're suggesting, is if I could use that term, is that make it something that actually now contributes to or enhances redevelopment in the overall area.
What we also heard is that they're gonna replicate these houses a little bit with the possibility of adding more houses here that look like those, but if I got it right, they were putting something on top of them, right? It would have a surface level that looked like them, but not necessarily just one-story houses.
I thought they were gonna be one-story houses.
There are.
I believe that's what I understood. I don't think there's anything, again, that's been solidified, but I think that was, like I was saying with Courtney, like, down in Igor where they have their Chamber of Commerce, so they use a lot of those houses.
Right.
And something similar to that.
It's just small side infill.
Right, but those are gonna be owner occupant homes. They're not gonna be anything like a museum or anything like that.
Okay.
They haven't decided whether or not they want to use them as rental properties or they're going to actually have them be owner occupant or sales for sale.
What I think is the most interesting question long-term for you guys. There's gonna be a big building right here, right? So everything in here isn't more than 6 stories.
Right.
All of a sudden, these guys came in here in our meeting in November and pitched what was probably an 11-story concrete parking garage and then a hotel on top of that. Okay, north is this way. When we're in our summer months, the furthest that sun comes is into the northern hemisphere over here, which means we spend the majority of the time the way we're to the north with this community in kind of the shade out of the southern hemisphere. So what I am worried about is, okay, so then we have these empty lots over here. They're probably going to go big here, right? So we become that last existing neighborhood where maybe you can't do new development, which is the good thing because it stops future development from coming. And then how do you protect and save all of this that exists from glass and steel and concrete structures? And when I look at that, I see a lot of different colors, right? And that's what bothered me about the presentation today, really. Blue and yellow. We live in like the tropics. We live on the Gulf of Mexico. And the opportunity to kind of maybe take advantage of these center islands or the islands that exist. Bay Charles Drive, right? Beautiful. Speaks to the history of this entire neighborhood. It's going to be in the shade for the rest of time until this building gets knocked down again and we start from scratch. So some way, this is really cool, but it's been built out in more of like a treescape as opposed to a community, call it a playground, right?
Space.
A community space, yeah. So then to kind of re-engage just the hardscapes as what is the opportunity for development, my 2 cents.
And now, of course, we're showing just the boundaries of the southern portion of Central Park CRA here. But this is the part of downtown CRA. And the zoning here is CB 1 or 2, I forget which one. Okay, but that's why they're going high, just on that portion.
Yeah.
So you see that the boundary line sort of splits that parcel. So the lower portion is back here.
The
Now
lower
that
the
makes
town makes
sense.
sense. The tower is gonna be right here, and then the
That's
hotel is,
cool.
this is the hotel
Right.
here.
Okay.
It's like,
Right.
all the apartments gonna be on the outside of CRA, basically.
Right.
But it's just gonna, so now I live here in Encore and I've got a great view to the east on my 6th floor, and all of a sudden that view's gone
Yes.
in 2 years. It's a concrete, slit into 100 organized parked cars. So that means my 6th floor balcony has become a challenge, and I'm gonna go looking for those opportunities to enjoy the sun or just enjoy my neighborhood, leaving my 6th floor. And
You raise a good point about open space features, because of course we have, Perry Harvey Park here, but one of the other questions too is, do you envision other types of open space features, community spaces, let's say, in other parts of the area? Do you think it's necessary or needed?
I heard earlier that there was talks about Perry Harvey Park having, amphitheater, some sort of music stage. It seems to be missed a little bit with the Heritage of Central Park, but the big music, district. And it seems like nothing's.
Yeah, notes on the signs, but we're really having music venues, and music,
Yeah, and, I don't know how to say region.
No. Now, one of the things that we have a series of images on some of the other drawings that sort of show a lot of different types of placemaking features. Everything from, and again, they sort of overlap here with public art, placemaking elements, let's say, and other types of public realm enhancement. We want to get your opinion about some of this type of stuff also. And again, some of the don't pay attention to the sign because that sort of overlaps with your other presentation. So again, we don't want to sort of address that issue here, but place branding elements, okay, and placemaking features, let's say, things that animate the area. In addition to wayfinding, which sort of helps direct people or help people navigate the area, but things that are within the public realm that show that this is an active place. Okay. Let's see, color or artwork or other types of graphic things like that.
In a way, as you mentioned, that even color reason like something that would stop that is great to develop.
just, that extension of our neighborhood out. I will say, you guys come to visit us in July and we'll go and have lunch at Perry Harvey Park, and it'll be the worst idea we have, right? So like these big features here in those kind of quadrants of lawn could create shade opportunities. And then, if you live in the neighborhood, you are just kind of living and breathing all of that, and you understand what's created by the art. I think that's cool. Definitely missing.
And this makes me wonder, where is that?
Just examples of like.
Danielle, I just sent you a Facebook message of those pictures, so you can see what we're looking at.
Certain.
Yeah.
You have to hold it.
Yeah. So flat.
Like, in other words, Tampa, University of Tampa is not the only place that is of interest in Tampa.
There's no.
Right. And that's where, you hear me allude to the idea of place brand. Because that whole conversation you just had about the wayfinding societies, a portion of that deals with what's the distinct characteristic of this area as opposed to another part of the city.
Right.
And your preference for some other colors or whatever that best represents that.
It's
Okay.
kind of like that color, but a little bit more teal. But anyway.
Well, you have this grand sized space, right? And so you have this history that can play out as you walk through it. Even like the existing monuments we have now tell the story throughout the early 1900s, even further back. But as you move through the park, you can feel that there's a progression. If that progression extended out throughout the whole district into those hatches, people that really understand this as their neighborhood will feel what's going on. Especially because now there's going to be so much more of an interest for me to come over here because Nebraska is safer. Because there's things happening at Gasworks where it's, that live, walk, play. allows for you guys to then take advantage of those three things and say, I can create a neighborhood.
I know this is a diversion, but maybe we can bring it back. When I'm giving the walking tour and I get to here, and I look back, I can no longer see the Ybor City sign. So that community has lost its identity because of that sign. And so maybe there's a sign here that creates an identity.
That's why we put these arrows on this map, because these are opportunities for introducing some of the typical feature like that at the points where you're actually coming into this Central Avenue district. Okay, of course, the only one that exists now, of course, is on Seventh Avenue, as you're going east into Ybor City. Okay,
That's where that Ybor City sign is. Right here.
yeah, the arch.
The arch.
Oh, the arch.
The arch.
Yeah, I was talking to one on top of the building that's now disappeared.
Super cool.
Now, the one question we also wanted to
That's
ask
the
about
tone, right?
has to do with, of course, Encore will be built out pretty soon. This is a community and a development, okay? Now we have Gasworks coming in, which sort of straddles Mutual Parkway. And, we know that, haven't looked recently, but visual elements, within Encore, as well as what's likely to come in, we introduced rather with the Gasworks project. And I did see a rendering that sort of showed a sign in front of, I think it's somewhere down here next to the open space proposal, right next to the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
It said Gasworks District. Okay, so it's clear that their intention is to brand it as a unique district, not just a development. Okay, now, the question we have, of course, Encore's been under development now for quite a while also. And, of course, they have their, imagery. I don't recall signage or like, things like banners or things like that. Okay, with either some type of, logo or icon or something like that that says, that talks about this particular, development place. But that's why we're raising this issue, because we see this, that, a portion of that as part of the Central Avenue district. Okay.
I know, we're getting low on time for something, so I apologize.
Because here's what I just heard. You have Gasworks District, you have Encore, you have Central Park. How's that Central Park anymore?
Well, that was our question to you, because.
No, I know, I got it.
One of the things that we heard when we first started, from Jeff Burton brought it up, said, the CAC may be considering sort of rebranding, not Central Park, but the Central Avenue or Central Avenue District. Now, I hope we're not getting ahead of ourselves by putting that on there, but again, that's why we wanted to ask you, because again, another major development. Obviously, the property owners here, have their own ideas about identity, types of elements, things in the public realm as well. But we wanted to get your take on that as well. Does the city own these streets in Encore? Or are they still? Well, I mean, it's the way it does, but the Tampa Housing Authority. In other words, was there any conveyance or deed over these streets to the city as opposed to being remaining portion of Tampa Housing Authority's?
That could be the Alice question.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was something that I don't know if you remember the last meeting that he had talked about that and had said that when they had talked with a lot of the folks that were in Central Park, and they had suggested to rebrand it to the Encore. That's where that's why they were going for it. Now I think that maybe again, 2006, there's a lot of things that have changed since then. And my personal opinion is that I think that our board, and I'm speaking on my own self, thinks that the Central Avenue is a better concept to go with than the Encore concept. Because I think when you say Central Avenue, you have a destination, you know where that's at.
Right.
When you say Encore, people in Tampa may know where that's at. You know, they might have a vague idea of where it's at, but they don't. It's not Central Avenue. It's not.
Right.
This is the actual destination.
And Central Avenue is relatable where you come from.
Even like, when I was like looking through like all these, like even these townhouses, they're like construction, right? They're like website, they necessarily, they advertise this place as it's close to the gas works district. It's like, not even like that it's gonna be in like in its own district, it's not even Encore, it's like, oh, it's gonna be this like
Close proximity.
quickly like developing area as a guest works district, so you've got a living close proximity there.
Right. And
That's not, doesn't mention anything about it.
the identity of this area has been lost for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even if you look
Right in
up,
the middle of it.
if you look up on the spot that you had questioned, you'll look at the yoga, it's like Ybor Yoga. You know what I mean? And when any of those businesses open,
Yeah.
they'll say, oh my God, we just opened up in Ybor City.
Yeah.
It's not Ybor City. You know what I mean? So that's the thing that I feel that we've really been trying to advocate for is the identity, the lost identity of this neighborhood being
Right.
brought back.
And that's one reason, again, why we brought it up, and we'll keep talking about it as long as you listen to us. Because we recognize that, what the city's invested in here, what the community sort of, advocated for in terms of preserving some portion of the legacy of the Central Avenue district. The whole question about rebranding or place branding, has to do with, okay, does that now factor into the bigger picture of this area? Okay. Because again, Encore is part of the larger district. Gas work or a portion of it is part of the district.
But it's not the whole district.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
And that's its main.
Mhm. See, any ideas again, going back to the question about these areas for in terms of development opportunities or redevelopment. Any ideas coming to mind about what, it should happen there? So I was gonna put a question mark here as well. Okay.
That's pretty much the only area that's left.
Yeah.
To consider.
Right.
Everyone else's plan.
Right.
I thought you guys had a great idea right on the head, so I won't try to protect it.
Yeah.
Are we still trying to get a date for the stakeholders? That you were gonna try to, that you kind of fell in that years? Okay, okay,
There we have it. They're gonna be able to read it.
okay, awesome, great job, thank you for that. That was a lot.
Oh,
That's okay, you've been doing a lot. You've been hitting the walls that I did for a while, and you kept going though, so
Yeah.
thank you for staying motivated with that.
Yeah, so really quickly on the community engagement meeting, I'm going to be sending out direct mailers to each resident that's coming up on the property appraiser website, along with, it's something that we use here at the city, that we could directly mail mailers to the businesses and residents that are in there within that Central Park CRA. So that will be going out hopefully by next week. And then I'm also going to have some physical yard signs that I'm going to put within the district as well. That's part of my comms plan. I do that for community engagements. I do the direct mailers so they could get a postcard. That's a good 65% return. So that's high compared to like social media. And then of course social media post, and then a news alert that I'll send out to who's registered to receive our news alerts from the CRA. And I'll tag the city comms so they can repost or help how they can help pretty much. I also tagged in Janelle McGregor's group, which is the community engagement group for the city of Tampa, so they can send direct mailings to any neighborhood associations or anyone that they they also have mailing list with, along with the Nextdoor app. So these are ways that we're advertising for that physical meeting. Okay, so the mailers are 5x7, ADA compliant, and it will be mailed to everyone within that district.
Can we have someone with either real estate or with the city that can speak on those empty lots? Because that was something that I think would be interesting to know. What's the future use of these lots the city owns? Are they going to be building residential homes on them? You know, are they going to be putting them up for sale? Are there any of those maybe businesses that would have a lot next to them that would want to purchase that to extend their business? So like I said, we've got these lots, but we don't know what the future plan is for them.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let me follow up, but not for the workshop. The
Yeah.
workshop would be
Just
uh,
specific to this.
very specific. There won't be a presentation.
Yes.
It would be more of like a
A
free flowing
brief-
workshop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hands-on.
Free form, similar to this, the community participates on what they will want to be included in this document. But
Yeah, let me do
Courtney
that.
handle
Okay.
that.
Because I know we got the list, but we never got closure on
Yes.
Yeah.
any plans for those properties. And
So the intent is to conduct that meeting with back to you and say, okay, this is what we heard. And then get your, the final sort of impressions on a lot of these questions that we've raised. So we can then start to fold that into the final document.
Mhm.
It will be interesting too to know whether or not any city-owned parcels or lots, let's say, would actually be actually been identified as part of the mayor's affordable housing.
Exactly. Yep.
Because that's one of the issues that we have to address in the update as well, affordable housing.
Big one.
Right.
Big one.
yeah, so we encourage everybody with the mishap that happened earlier with wayfinding signage. You guys are invited to personally attend the
Yeah. She's been working her butt off to get that done. She really has.
and spread it to your families and
Yeah.
family and friends and neighbors.
Yeah.
The mailer, I'll give you a copy. Well, I'll send it electronically so we could use that. Cause it pretty much gives the time, location,
Right,
and then on the back just gives a brief synopsis on what the meeting will be about.
perfect.
Yeah, and I was gonna say something.
Yeah, so a lot of this discussion would happen, or some other of this would occur at the workshop. So, we encourage you to attend to weigh in. So this isn't the end of this discussion. It'll continue at the workshop. And then, of course, Trent's been attending and team's been attending every one of the meetings. So he'll be back at the we're in January, February meeting. So yeah, this conversation will continue.
So the wayfinding is going to present to CRA on the 8th, which is the Thursday, and then that following Thursday.
I haven't gotten that request
Oh.
that he had mentioned. So that's why I also have to follow up with the partnership. If they're presenting each of the concepts, all the concepts to the CACs, I haven't gotten that request. So I have to get clarification on that too.
Okay.
And that does raise another issue about, again, some of the types of features that we were showing, some of the imagery that we're showing in these types of next graphics, say, because if that, whatever is decided relative to wayfinding, let's say, precedent for other types of public realm features or elements
Right.
as well.
Well, that's the whole point, is to make it look unified,
Right.
So when you're in, like when you're in Ybor, they have a specific signs, you're in Ybor.
Right.
So that's what we're really looking for in this community as well. You're in, everybody knows you're in Tampa. You've already gotten here. Tampa don't need to be that big. We got you. You're in Tampa. We need to know where you're at in Tampa.
But
Even though you're in Tampa.
a comment guide, wasn't it explicitly clear that we wanted to capitalize on the historic infrastructure of the district? And so every single sign, with the exception of the first one, which is more classic, I would have loved for him to separate the two projects in some aspects. So that's why I kind of asked for the understanding of the scope of it, exactly what they were supposed to do. But we'll talk about that later. I just wanted to add that I love the photos. They are so bright and vibrant, and I really think you guys did a really nice job capturing the feel and the vibe of, I think, what we've all been talking about as a group. And I also want to encourage the group to support transit-oriented development around the anticipated transit centers or stations that are coming with Brightline. And I think we can also capitalize, Trent, on some potential pocket park areas, green space or open areas that we can, anything we can, because we have, let's celebrate the very first urban farm, with Meacham Farms, and let's, try to best preserve some sort of an agricultural footprint in the district as well.
Yes, we, relative to the anticipated Brightline station coming into downtown area, we've done some initial sort of modeling of what that could look like.
Sure.
Again, we're sort of holding in reserve, because we don't want to try to jump the gun or do anything that precedes, the official city of Tampa position. You'll see this at some point, hopefully.
Right, that's such a big change.
Yes,
They're trying to hold off on their control,
right.
until that's like go or no go.
Because remember now, in the envisioned Tampa plan from 2015, the right date, right? CAS is in which your parkway is designated as a greenway, going all the way through the northern portion of downtown. Now, the only component of that has been realized, of course, is that dedicated bike lane. That's so, and again, that that overlaps with much of what we've been talking about. And I'm not even sure that the GasWorks folks are taking that into consideration. Well, maybe they are, but we sort of see when I think we actually took a roundabout outlet there, sort of showing that what they're proposing.
And I think that's, I think this is still kind of see it all over that.
That's, again, that was the whole idea for, getting this business component sort of started. So, we're putting a lot of these sort of urban community design issues out there. We want to get your feedback, we want to get the community's feedback, so we can fold that into the update. So that section or subsection in the document, talks about, well, this is what the CAC identified, this is what the community identified in terms of priorities or preferences and things like that.
I just had a thought. In most cities, if you say Central Avenue, that is where activity gravitates.
Right.
Okay. So politically, there may be a desire that not happen because of where this is. Or if you take the positive side of it, now I would love to see it, what you're doing. Maybe I'm finally getting it. A overall plan that makes people from outside of the city gravitate to Central Avenue because it's a familiar term and a familiar expectation of what they're going to find when they get there.
Right.
Something alive. Mm-hmm. And activity. So even if Encore is Encore, what in Encore can contribute to that overall feel of bring them here?
Right. So the suggestion, or what I think you alluded to earlier about some type of amphitheater in
Right, there's already a spot that they had designated.
Okay.
For that. There's already a slab. But then with the recession hit and everything kind of got put on pause in 2006, they didn't finish that. But there is a slab right there on Harrison.
Okay, so that's one of the ways that that you can start to energize the area. Okay. Again, along with other public land elements, features that clearly show visually this is where you're at in the city of Tampa.
Mm-hmm. That's why I said really cool to these. That's that tone where you get to say, I'm either going through, under, over something, and I'm in a place that's specially unique from where I just came.
And so since Ybor City is losing its sign identity and its place in Tampa's history because you can't see it anymore, then we should have something.
Yeah. And there are opportunities to along around the Sierra, like even not only one, but like a couple couple of them, that could be just sit there and like when you like either go down to 275, you have like where that welcome to Burger King, welcome to Tampa, and the Burger King in the back. There's opportunity there to put like a big sign there, or like when you're going like from Nebraska Avenue, or going like either like north or going south, or there's places where you can put it and you're entering it, and it's.
I just thought that was totally inappropriate to approve that location, but. And you know, I was on the planning commission, you know, it came before us, you know, when the land was, land use, was changed to that third thing. I said, this is one of the main interests in downtown, you know, welcome people with a Burger King. So.
Think about like when you're driving, right, and you want to get to Cass and Central, you're not from around here, go look for those, you know, 2-story high artists playing the saxophone.
Yeah.
I mean, something like that could be at every entrance.
Yeah.
So whenever you're coming northeast, west, south, like, where are you?
Yes.
And then you look at our wayfinders and you say, oh, you're in a unique neighborhood. Look at the pink color.
Lavender.
Anything but that, huh?
I'm happy we're on the same page. That was my first note. I'm like, this color. And then I don't think, God.
That's what we wanted to start to, you know, get into a conversation about, and like I said, you know, obviously we can, you know, spend a lot more time on this, but the hour's well spent, as they say. So I think we did get some notes from some of your comments. Okay.
What homework do you have for us?
Just, you know, think about the issues that we've talked about. I know you're gonna be wrestling with this issue of wayfinding, but remember also there are other types of features that could complement this, and complement, you know, any of the new development in the area, and ideas about, again, intervaluing from the park or any number of thoroughfares going through the CRA, and also think about what's could happen there.
To that green space.
Right, because that would be a major intervention.
Yes. Yep. We've talked about that before.
Flex space, activation, these are just some terms that kind of come to mind for me, because I think, you know, with decreased amount of green space, we need to allow some sort of flex space and some sort of prescriptive, you know, parameters around that flex space. Communities really love that too, because it really lends value to a lot of different groups within the community. So if there's a way that we could maybe classify that as such, you know, you guys were talking about that music stage, or even with the agricultural, you know, the open air markets, the music festivals, you name it, you know, dog area, play area. I love flex spaces.
Mhm. Do you have these on PDFs you can email to us?
Yeah, we like maps are like the.
All of it.
Yeah.
All of this, because this is great, but it's a lot, you know, to try to absorb. And I sent Danielle a couple, but I think to really be able to get in and zoom in and really see this is going to be very beneficial if you have that opportunity.
Sure.
Yeah, I really want to give kudos to your team as well, Trent, for
This is awesome.
the
Just been a lot of
patterns.
looking at this.
You guys showed a lot of
Good job.
patterns. You guys showed infrastructure, street furniture. You guys showed colors. It's so good. I'm so excited about this coming together.
Just copy somebody else's plan.
It'll be the scope of work.
Good. Well, Mr. Chairman, I think that's.
It's a great job.
We have to.
No, I think we all really appreciate everything that you guys have put in. You guys have done a great job following up. And like I said, getting that meeting set up. I know your pain trying to find a place and can't do that place. And why not? You just can't, you know, so finding a place. Thank you very much for doing that. And thank you all for taking the time to come out and to put all this together. And we really appreciate all of your time and your support for sure. Makes a big difference.
Good.
You're making changes in town. You really are. So thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah, it is exciting.
Good. Okay. All right.
All right, Go ahead.
Well, or if we can just, yeah, if we can just quickly, I can say the last part and adjourn.
Yep.
So I think we're ready to adjourn pretty much. I just wanted to let everybody know that, the lot 10 and lot 12, you know, Encore, those were denied.
Okay.
Both were denied. So, they're putting the CRA board is putting a moratorium on projects similar to those coming to them without them vetting those projects in advance. So they wanted to put a moratorium on that and not entertain those types of projects coming to them for financial requests. So, staff is going to come before the CRA board in March to talk about what a process would look like going forward. Should we entertain those types of requests or proposals going in the future? So lot 10 and lot 12 were denied. Gasworks was approved.
Lot 10 and 12, or which ones?
The grocer that you referenced, the lot 12 was the Patel group that with the grocer and the medical. That one was denied. And then the one that was going to offer affordable housing was also denied on lot 10.
The guys from Miami.
Miami.
So there's,
What was there a reason that they were denied? That's shocking to me.
They wanted it to have a different approach as far as us as a city proactively going out and putting possibly like an RFP and taking requests versus
I'm coming back.
private developers coming to the city requesting funding. It just would be a different approach on how that happened.
so lot 10 is not gonna, it's gonna still happen. It's just not gonna.
Lot 10 still, from my understanding, was they were proceeding. They were just working with the city to offer the affordable housing that's so important to us. So that's where they needed the funding to offset the reduction in the. That's what they said. I mean,
Yeah, 10 said they-
I haven't talked to them after the denial, but I have a meeting set up with them. But that was what they originally had stated, that we were coming, but to help with the city's need of affordable housing, if you help offset what we're reducing, you know, their rental rate, then they would incorporate affordable housing.
So they asked for an additional grant, that's the tip, or was it a tip for everything?
That was just for what, lot 10?
Lot 10, because it was divided between downtown and Central Park.
Yeah, well, it actually was gonna end up coming out of it was gonna get tricky. Because it was, you know, the land covered both areas, but primarily because of the funding being available in the downtown TIF, it was gonna have to come out of the downtown TIF.
Okay, so that's fine.
But it was also like, so how you know, geographically, you gotta put the affordable housing. I was like, oh, I don't want to. Yeah. Yeah, so it was gonna get little, I'm like, how do you put the affordable, you gotta make sure, where's that line? That affordable housing had to go on the downtown side for the TIP funding to legally be used toward the affordable housing unit.
So Matt, you guys are moving forward though, right, with your building?
So
Well,
they're
Matt-
still, so they're still talking. I know they're in talks with, Erica and Elise now, on a direction moving forward. And that's all I really have right now.
Okay.
Okay. All right, thanks, Matt. But yeah, so
Thank you,
that's
guys.
it. So we'll see what the CRA board would recommends for the group, for staff to as far as we
Sure.
proceed.
That's not completely dead. It's just something to be revisited and just needs to be presented differently.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know, you know, I just know that they wanted it to change how the approach was.
Okay.
They want to change how the approach was handled this last time.
It sounded like, yeah, a couple council people had feedback.
Yeah,
What they wanted to
I had
see.
that feeling before, yeah.
Yeah, so I just wanted to inform you. Those were denied, and we'll see what happens next.
There were several, just a note real quick, there were several downtown development buildings that were done in that procurement process, as you were saying, Courtney. While I was sitting on the downtown CAC CRA, the city procured and was able to weigh in heavily on the conceptual designs and everything for the buildings that had been constructed downtown. So maybe that's what they want to, the process that they want to proceed with.
Yeah, we'll learn more March 21. March 21 is when this discussion would happen at the CRA board, so I just want to stay tuned.
I just have one last question before we adjourn. Do you know anything about the the church? I know we had a.
I do not, I have not, no. Thomas is who's informed me, you know, as I've come into this role, the most about that, so I don't.
I should have some more information.
Travis is already, there's stuff on there, I can reach out to the daughter.
You're gonna be. Right.
It's fine.
Okay.
Do you want to come over? Do you want to meet these
Ready
guys?
to adjourn this meeting, everybody?
Yes.
Good. Thanks again for your time. I'll go ahead and adjourn today's meeting. And tomorrow's the CRA board, it's town hall city hall at 9. Everybody wants to join virtually or come down and just see what the update is for that. So just your heads up at the bottom of the agenda. Yeah, that's what I've always wondered, and that's the thing that's quite special to talk to Frank about too.
Okay, the tour.
Oh, wait, let me. Oh,
Thank
I'm sorry, guys,
Thanks,
I'm
Danielle.
gonna
Thank
leave the,
you.
the meeting.
All right, Courtney, thank you for sending me the link last minute. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, you're welcome. All right, see you
Thank
later.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.